now available in paperback and e-readers, The Temptation of John Haynes. Give in to temptation and pick up this action-packed African-American paranormal romance. Get The Temptation of John Haynes in paperback and e-readers today. One of my viewers wanted to know if President Obama was partially responsible for Donald Trump running for the presidency. Now, according to the viewer, they believe that Donald Trump was motivated to run for president because of the way Barack Obama treated him during a 2011 press correspondence dinner. Now, during this press correspondence dinner, Barack Obama took a minute to roast Donald Trump as related to his allegations regarding him being a birther and possibly not being qualified to be president because Donald Trump believed that he wasn't a citizen of the United States.
We all know about your credentials and breadth of experience. For example, no, seriously, about Mr. Trump, he certainly would bring some change to the White House. Let's see what we've got up there.
Now, according to the viewer, they believe that the 2011 press correspondence dinner was the incident that was partially the reason why Donald Trump was motivated to create the MAGA platform of Make America Great Again and run for president in 2016. Now, according to the viewer, they sent me some video of Barack Obama looking to roast Donald Trump at the White House press correspondence dinner. And at the White House press correspondence dinner, Barack Obama takes a minute to single out Donald Trump, who was invited to this event, and then go out here and look to talk about how Donald Trump doesn't know anything about politics or government, and looks to go out and put up an image of the White House decked out in a tacky fashion, and looks to get a laugh at the expense of Donald Trump, who made a criticism about Barack Obama possibly not being a citizen and being qualified for being president as related to the so-called birther movement. Now, before Donald Trump started making statements, there was a movement of white Americans and non-black Americans who were saying that Barack Obama wasn't a citizen of the United States, and this movement called the birther movement says that Barack Obama's birth certificate was in question and basically challenged the whole idea of Barack Obama qualifying to be president, and Donald Trump basically became a part of this movement called the birthers. And as he became a part of this movement called the birthers, he questioned Barack Obama's qualifications for president, and this questioning of qualifications basically made it where Barack Obama got upset, and as he got upset, he looked to get back at Donald Trump with this roast at the White House press correspondence dinner and get a laugh at the expense of Donald Trump, not understanding that he basically, as he made this roast, was violating one of the unwritten social rules of white supremacy in this country. Now, when it comes to Barack Obama, yes, he was the first black president, but this first black president didn't really understand what he was possibly setting off, as according to the viewers' perceptions of white people, because when it comes to white people, and if they are racist, they have a set of unwritten social rules, and one of those unwritten social rules is that no black person should go out here and openly go out here and disrespect a white person in public. That is one of the unwritten social rules that they have, and it possibly was this unwritten social rule as related to white people that possibly could have been the thing to motivate Donald Trump to look to run for president, because one, he possibly believed that this individual who was not a citizen was running for president, and two, believed that this person had the audacity to go out here and openly disrespect a white man. This is an unwritten social rule that is in both the North and the South here in America, and goes even beyond the days of Jim Crow. oftentimes in social circles, especially high social circles like those of the White House, there's an unwritten rule that you don't go out here and openly disrespect a white man. And Barack Obama, basically, after violating this unwritten social rule, this could have been the thing that motivated Donald Trump to believe that he needed to run for president, because this unwritten social rule, as related to black people and white people, had been violated. Now, it was already bad enough for these racists known as the birthers and many others, because what was upsetting them was that their entire smooth world, as related to the race hierarchy, had been shattered by Barack Obama, in their eyes, being elected the first black president. But this first black president wasn't really black. If you know anything about racial hierarchies, no, Barack Obama was a biracial black man who was born of a white mother and a Kenyan father, and had no connections to foundational black Americans at all. No, had no connections to black people at all. And since they had no connection, this is one of the reasons why he was considered to be the perfect patsy political candidate to run for president, because the country basically was in the middle of a fiscal crisis created by the subprime mortgage mess under President George W. Bush, which was instituted by the Republican Congress and the Blue Party President Bill Clinton, repealing the Glass-Steagall Act, and basically with the country on the brink of economic collapse, on a fiscal cliff. What they wanted to do to cover up the incompetence of the white political candidates was go out here and recruit a black candidate to be their political patsy, to take account, to go out here and try to navigate the failure and make the failure his failure. That's what a lot of the racists couldn't see as related to the game of political chess being played. And even Donald Trump couldn't see the whole political chess game being played, with Barack Obama being a fall guy, similar to what they planned for former New York Mayor David Dinkins when he was alive. Now, New York Mayor David Dinkins basically became New York's first black mayor, but that first black mayor basically was a complete failure, and a failure that basically was a setup because they wanted to cover up the failures of previous mayors like Abe Beame and Ed Koch, who ran the city into the ground over the last 16 years. And as they ran the city into the ground for the last 16 years, they made it look like the black man was responsible for all the crime and the decline of the quality of life in New York City. And after making it look like the black man was responsible for all this, people elected Rudy Giuliani, not understanding how they had been manipulated by race. And the same thing happened here with Barack Obama. Basically, he was set up to be the political fall guy, and many racists out here wanted to go out here and believe that Barack Obama, they didn't like Barack Obama because he was black, but again, he never really was connected to black people, never wanted anything to do with black people at all. No, he was out here looking to gain clout and influence with whites and non-blacks, and thought he could get clout with many on the left side as related to whites and non-blacks. But this further escalated the political polarization that went on ever since the election of Barack Obama. Because with the whole Barack Obama candidacy, this is where politics in this country went from being civilized to polarized, and went from being civilized to polarized because many people got caught up in race. Many people got caught up in race because Barack Obama being the first black candidate, they were upset that their smooth world as related to race was being shattered, because in the eyes of many people on the right and the left, they believe that a black man should not be running for president or be in a position to run for president. No, that position, by their unwritten social rules, was reserved for white men. And since that position was reserved for white men, this is where these people, both on the right and the left, got polarized. They got so polarized at the point that you cannot reason with these individuals, because they feel like their world is changing. And since their world is changing, they are extremely angry, and they become extremely emotional. And as they become extremely emotional, they become motivated to believe that they need to do something. And that was further exacerbated by Barack Obama's condescending tone towards Donald Trump, not understanding the unwritten social rules as related to race. No, because he didn't understand the unwritten social rules as related to race, he didn't understand that basically he was already dealing with a powder keg political situation that was dividing this country, a powder keg political situation that was further exacerbated by him violating that unwritten social rule, in that, yes, you may be a black man who is in a position of power, but you have to respect the authority and the order of white supremacy. And Barack Obama didn't show any respect for the order of white supremacy, and that's where possibly Donald Trump felt motivated to run for president, because this black man, this biracial black man, felt he had the audacity to again speak against a white man, and speak against a white man in a disrespectful fashion that possibly made it where Donald Trump felt the country was going in a state of decline, and felt the country was going in a state of decline. And because he felt that things weren't going the right way, he felt America was going in a bad direction, and that's possibly what led to him being motivated to believe he needed to run for president in order to make America great again. Because under Donald Trump's perspective and the perspective of many people on the right, they are seeing people like Barack Obama looking to push far left agendas and look to go beyond diversity and inclusion to the point where you're just looking to just give everybody a pass and basically create anarchy and chaos. They believe that the entire structure of the country is on the brink of collapse, and that's what belief that they want to run for. Donald Trump wanted to run for president because he wanted to get the country back in order as related to his vision of America. And that's possibly why Donald Trump was possibly motivated, responsible for running for president, and possibly responsible for MAGA. Now, the entire MAGA platform, you have to understand regarding it, it basically it didn't have a base until basically this possible incident, and this base basically was out here upset for an extended period of time. But what really galvanized this base into a movement was possibly this inciting incident where this black man had or really biracial black man, because he was not full black, this biracial black man had the audacity to openly speak against a white man, mock a white man, disrespect a white man. That possibly could have been the major motivation for Donald Trump looking to run for president, was him believing that this black man didn't follow the unwritten social rules as related to white supremacy, and they wanted to go out here and make sure that those rules remained in place. That's possibly what motivated the whole situation for MAGA. And what really, again, makes MAGA and a movement is not Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump is possibly a guy who basically galvanized that base, but that whole base, you have to understand, is what the first three words of the Constitution state: we the people. Now, when it comes to we the people have become polarized. We the people have become so polarized on race that we're so caught up in our emotions on both the left and the right side that you really can't hear reason. And that's one of the reasons why you have the MAGA movement, because many of those on the right and even some of those on the left feel like the entire country's leadership is tone deaf and disconnected. They feel like the leadership is tone deaf and disconnected and not really listening to we the people. And Barack Obama's whole approach at this correspondence dinner basically was part of his whole approach to his entire presidency, where he condescended and talked down to people and mocked people who looked to try to look to him for leadership, because the way he treated Donald Trump is no different than the way he treated many black people who voted for him in large numbers in 2008 and 2012, in condescending to black people and talking down to black people. And it's that condescending tone that basically alienated the entire black voting bloc in 2016, because they basically thought they were going to get tangibles from Barack Obama, but he just continued to express contempt towards them. And it looks like he possibly expressed the same contempt towards Donald Trump. And expressing that contempt towards Donald Trump had a different response. I mean, while black people stayed home in 2016, Donald Trump felt motivated possibly to run for president because he felt that this tone-deaf, disconnected man was not looking out for the best interest of the country, and possibly felt like he didn't look out for America's best interest. That could have been the main motivation for him to run for president. And again, look to run for president because he felt that this guy was basically running the country into the ground because he was aloof, detached, and disconnected from people. And that has been a major problem with the Blue Party overall. A major problem with the Blue Party is that they just don't listen to people. They just don't listen to anyone. And again, this is what possibly makes him partially responsible for MAGA, because this was again the same condescending tone that he used in the case of Trayvon Martin, the murder of Trayvon Martin, the murder of Tamir Rice, the murder of Michael Brown, and the just indifference towards black people as related to the situations of black people not being able to get justice. And this same condescending tone is what turned off a lot of people regarding the Obama presidency towards the end of that presidency, and possibly doomed Hillary Clinton's campaign, possibly doomed it because of his complete apathy and again condescension. And again, this possibly motivated Donald Trump to feel like, hey, the government isn't serving we the people, and the only way to make America great again is for him to step in as a citizen, because according to our Constitution, again, if a man is 35 years old, that was the only qualification for being president, and he felt like he needed to right the country because this first black president wasn't really looking out for people, as related to serving the people. And that's possibly what motivated him to run for president. But what really built the movement was that base that came before. And again, what Donald Trump did was, like the late David Carroll says, you have to galvanize your base. And again, he was able to galvanize a base as related to what the culture war was. Now, this whole culture war basically started in 2008, I believe. Now, some people will say the culture war started with 2014 with the all-new, all-different Marvel. No, it was started way before, because people saw their way of life here in America being shattered, because in their eyes, black people were always supposed to be at the bottom. And this was shown in films like Birth of a Nation, where they believed that if a black person came to power, it would signify the entire collapse of society. That's what was presented in the film Birth of a Nation, and this is what possibly motivated Donald Trump to run, just like in the movie The Klansman, like Birth of a Nation, where they needed the Klansmen to protect people from the chaos of black people. And again, this is the mindset that many people have as related to the whole country. They have the motivation that they believe that the country is in a state of decline because they believe the black man was a leader. And again, Barack Obama's condescending tone and not following the unwritten social rules of white supremacy may have been the catalyst for Donald Trump running for the president and becoming the next president of the United States. It could have been Barack Obama not following that unwritten social rule, and that not following that unwritten social rule could have again been the thing that made Donald Trump feel so incensed that he needed to again build that base and invest in that base, because he saw the direction of the country. And when you really look at the direction of the country, it did go into a further state of decline, because the decline, really, we had the tipping point with the event of 9/11 and George H.W. Bush's complete mismanagement of the war on terror, his mismanagement of Hurricane Katrina, and basically leaving a void in leadership, and an opportunist Barack Obama coming in and again promising hope and change, but delivering nothing. And as he delivered nothing, he basically condescended and talked down to people, as he was an empty symbolic president who was basically a political pawn on the chessboard as related to being the great failure that would orchestrate the great white savior. Unfortunately, Joe Biden couldn't be that great white savior, and neither could Donald Trump, because the country just has no direction, and again, has no direction because we, the people, are polarized and not united. We, the people, have basically been demoralized as related to 9/11. 9/11 took away America's sense of security, took away America's sense of confidence, took away America's sense of self-worth, and basically shattered America's perception of strength. And after 9/11, the country has gone on a further decline, because the decline really started back with the rise of the feminist movement and the complete destruction of the American family. But the whole situation with Trump is really, one part is the disrespect he got at this correspondence dinner, and the other part has to do with him, with Donald Trump basically, again, being a white man, feeling that this black man had the audacity to disrespect him, and in his way he wanted to take his respect by trying to take the country back. This possibly was the motivation, but he couldn't do this without we the people. And again, we the people are divided, and really divided in a really dangerous fashion, because we basically have people on the brink and a country on the brink, because people are frustrated, people are angry. They look at the direction of the country, they don't see it going in the right direction, and all they hear from people on the left, like Barack Obama, is disrespect and contempt towards them, and passive-aggressive things like, again, giving illegals more money than they do, and they're trying to struggle to make ends meet. And that's what motivates them to go out here and support people like Donald Trump. Now, I am no Donald Trump supporter, but I look at both sides, and again, and again, the catalyst for Donald Trump could have been this disrespect that he saw expressed towards him by a black president who was, again, caught up in his own hubris, not understanding that he violated an unwritten social rule as related to white men, and as he violated this unwritten social rule, he basically made it where this white man basically, again, got upset, and many other white men got upset, and again, not understanding those unwritten social rules basically possibly could have motivated Donald Trump to become the next president after Barack Obama. And again, this whole situation could have been started, but the whole thing for that foundation was back in 2008. A lot of people in this country were upset that Barack Obama had the audacity to run for president, and then further wanted to be more condescending. Again, that basically created that base of people who were looking to make America great again, and basically tell the truth about this country and how racist and just backwards it truly is, even though it puts up the face as the greatest nation in the world. The whole thing is, a lot of things with this nation aren't great, and one of the things that isn't great is that we don't want to acknowledge the issue of race in this country. Even Barack Obama didn't want to acknowledge race in this country, but he made this one faux pas that shows us that race is a core issue with this country as related to its whole state of its union. Now, this was a video requested by a viewer, and if you want to request a video, you can send a donation for a minimum of $15 to the Cash App or the PayPal by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to pick up some of my books on the SJS Direct Imprint, you can find those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find those books at other online booksellers like Draft the Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback at e-readers, ISIS, Dark Incubus. The goddess next door gets enthralled in a romantic entanglement with an evil incubus in this all-new ISIS series adventure. Get your copy of ISIS, Dark Incubus in paperback and e-readers today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.